And tonight on the Daily Wrap, the first Democratic debate went down in Vegas last night. We'll cover who won, who lost, and everything in between. A new poll finds Ben Carson and Donald Trump now virtually tied for the GOP nomination. And is there a refugee crisis heading our way? This is the Daily Wrap, live from New York City. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Joe Concha, joined by my co-host Rick Unger. Worked overtime last night.
It was fun. It was fun. You know, getting to host debate coverage is always great because otherwise you're home yelling at the people who do it and throwing your shoe at them when you think they're crazy. So this way other people got to throw their shoes at me.
Interesting, the shoe thing. Isn't it a Muslim thing, like the ultimate insult when you throw a shoe at somebody?
It's most viewers who watch cable news, you know. They like to get angry.
Fascinating. What surprised you most?
You know, what surprised me most is something you're going to talk about today, which was the size of the audience, which way exceeded what I had expected. You came much, much closer.
I did, didn't I?
In your estimates. I was very surprised by that.
Closest to the pin, but not even close, and we'll share with you at home what that audience number was. Quite remarkable, actually. And to Mr. Ratings Right, he is a former FBI special agent, a former Navy SEAL, and currently the president of Continued Services. Jonathan Gilliam, Sans Props, is back. And finally, he's a contributor to the Conservative Review. Tom Borelli joins us after a long goodbye, but it's good to have you back once again. Let's get right to the Daily Download.
I'm very proud that over my almost 30 years of public service, I have had no scandals. I've always been honest, I have the courage to take the long-term view, and I've shown good judgment. I have high ethical standards.
And that was Lincoln Ducey, brother Steve Ducey of Fox and Friends. Actually, no, but boy, the resemblance is amazing, isn't it?
I actually thought it was Howdy Doody grew up to be a politician. Who knows?
Yeah. Anyway, currently polling at 0.0%, kicking off the first primary debate for the Democratic nomination. So, in addition to the popularity challenge Chafee, the debate featured Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley, former Virginia Senator Jim Webb, Senator Bernie Sanders, and of course former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who, in case you were wondering, is an effective progressive.
Do you change your political identity based on who you're talking to?
No, I think that like most people that I know, I have a range of views, but they are rooted in my values and my experience. And I don't take a backseat to anyone when it comes to progressive experience and progressive commitment.
Just for the record, are you a progressive or are you a moderate?
I'm a progressive. But I'm a progressive who likes to get things done.
Don't even know what that means. But according to our first guest, Senator Bernie Sanders was the big winner of the night, not Hillary Clinton.
Secretary Clinton, is Bernie Sanders tough enough on guns?
No, not at all. I think that we have to look at the fact that we lose 90 people a day from gun violence. This has gone on too long, and it's time the entire country stood up against the NRA.
As a senator from a rural state, what I can tell Secretary Clinton, that all the shouting in the world is not going to do what I would hope all of us want, and that is keep guns out of the hands of people who should not have those guns and end this horrible violence that we are seeing.
Okay, let's bring in Newsmax political analyst Dick Morris, who joined Mr. Unger and Steve Malzberg last night during the post-debate coverage right here on Newsmax. Dix, you were impressed with Senator Sanders last night. Seems like the establishment media gave the victory to Hillary Clinton, but most online polls, and millennials control those, so you're with the youngins on this one, seem to think that by an overwhelming majority, Bernie Sanders, they agreed with you, won last night.
Well, and also Frank Luntz's focus group unanimously agreed that Sanders won it. They were half Hillary, half Sanders, and by the end of the evening, they were 3/4 Sanders, 1/4 Hillary, and even the Hillary voters felt that Sanders did better. I'm confident that in the next few days, my prophecy of last night will be affirmed, and that you'll see Sanders decisively closing the gap with Hillary in the head-to-head polling. And I think that this creates a new reality. The insiders, the pundits, don't know the right and they don't know the left. They know the establishment center, but nothing outside of that. And this is a candidacy, Sanders, as with Trump's, that's fueled by those outside the mainstream.
Which is interesting because Sanders has been in the Senate for so long, but like Cruz, as you said, he does come across as an outsider. Were you surprised just how weak the other three candidates on stage were, how ineffective, how almost unprepared they seemed to be, particularly Chafee and Webb just seemed lost for the entire evening?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised. I did look at it and say, oh, that's why Sanders is the real challenger, not any of them. I hadn't quite appreciated that till I actually see them underwhelm.
Dick, it's Rick. Picking up on something you said last night that I thought was interesting. You pointed out that you thought the power brokers in the Democratic Party, after watching the debate, would be in fear of the fact that now you have a candidate that can actually topple Hillary Clinton, that being Bernie Sanders. I disagreed with you at that time. I got on the phone today with a number of those people who I know and ran it by them. I wanted to see if there was something to it. A number of them agreed that they thought that Sanders probably had gotten the best of the debate, but absolutely none of them thought that it would have any kind of a real impact on pushing his chances forward to get the nomination. So they don't seem to have that fear you thought they would. What do you think today?
It's wonderful to hear the conventional wisdom because you know how bad it is. And it makes you look good. Obviously, Sanders did well, and obviously that's going to affect the debate polling. And when they get a poll back that shows that Hillary is not ahead by the 45 to 27 she was going in, but is ahead, if by anything, by 5 or 6 or 8 points, they're going to freak. And they're going to realize that Sanders has tremendous momentum, momentum from voters they don't care about and don't know about. And I think that what's going to happen, as I said last night, is that there'll be a panic that will be focused on getting Biden to run. Now, right now, the insiders all believe Hillary won, which is ludicrous. And once they learn how wrong they are from the poll, they'll change their view.
Well, Dick, you know, the only polling I've been able to see was the pulse polling that was going on last night during the debate, which, as you know, picks up people who, as they're watching it. In that particular pulse poll, Hillary was actually picking up more than Sanders, but not by much. I don't want to suggest it was a massive thing, but it would tend to say that it's probably going to remain somewhat static going forward. But you might be right.
Yeah, I think the focus group is a much case of that. And also bear in mind that Hillary went into this with a 2-to-1 or 3-to-2 lead. So anything approaching parity is going to narrow this race.
Yeah,
okay.
and as we heard from you, Dick, after the first two GOP debates, where you said Donald Trump had won those, even when many people, including myself, had Carly Fiorina winning the second debate, and she did get a bump. Everybody said this is the end for Trump, and all we keep seeing are his poll numbers. He's still on top, even though Ben Carson is gaining.
Interesting how Fiorina is faded. She was before the debate. She was at 4%. The day after the debate, the poll had her at 15. Yeah. Now she's back to 6. And I think it's because the media did a job on her in explaining how vulnerable she would be from her record at Hewlett-Packard and how she wasn't really a conservative, that she'd endorsed amnesty for immigration and a whole variety of other things. So I think that, again, this is very sensitive to the blogosphere. You have to realize that the pundits, the establishment, the mainstream folks that you see on, I don't know, stations like CNN and Fox News are not in touch with either the Tea Party or the Occupy Wall Street 1%ers. And those are the folks that are driving the votes in their respective political parties.
One more question for you, Dick. We only have about 20 seconds, but it's a pretty quick answer that you'll be able to provide. Does Joe Biden see what happened last night and jump into this race as a result?
Yeah, I think he'll get into the race. I think that probably the punditry has to wear off, and he has to actually see polling numbers. When a poll comes out that shows Sanders closing on Hillary, there's going to be an explosion you're going to hear all over the country.
And that will be quite entertaining to watch, no question about it. Dick Morris, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Okay, so who do you think won last night's Democratic debate? Go to newsmaxpolls.com and cast your vote. And coming up next, Jeb Bush is finally ahead of Donald Trump, but he might not be happy about it. We'll explain.